Today on World Pea's Kitchen, we're making bacon out of eggplant. This does not look like bacon, but this does. How to go from this to this. Raw vegan eggplant bacon, that's what we're making today on World Pea's Kitchen. Let's be clear, it does not matter whether this tastes exactly like cured meat bacon. It only matters that it's crispy, salty, a little sweet, and spicy. If you agree that bacon is delicious, but it's not worth killing for, or dying for, then this snack is for you. Here's the fast-forward version of what we're planning to do. We slice the eggplant into very thin strips, salt them, and let them sit to get the water out. Then we marinate them in a flavorful blend of veggies and spices, and dehydrate the strips using a dehydrator or an oven. The result is crispy and delicious, nearly fat-free, raw, vegan yumminess. Plus, as a special breakfast bonus, we'll show you how we make our quick and easy scrambled tofu. But first, let's get started making bacon. To do this, we're going to need some really thin slices of this eggplant. Now, it's possible to do that with your chef's knife if you're really skillful at using it. It's not too difficult to do it with this peeler, but my favorite tool by far is this ceramic mandolin, which you can find online for less than $20. To get started, we're going to cut off the end of the eggplant, both ends, and then cut it in half.
And then we start slicing about 1,000 little strips of eggplant. Now Sherry saw this part of the video and she said, "Are you crazy? Are you showing him how to use a mandolin without using the protective glove?" And of course she's right. If you go shopping for the mandolin online, you'll also see opportunities to buy protective cut-resistant gloves. That's probably a good idea. I've been using the mandolin for a long time and feel safe using it without the gloves. But the mandolin blade is very sharp, probably sharper than your chef's knife, so it is important to use it very carefully. The trick is to stop when your vegetable gets pretty small, and I may go a little longer than you should. When the piece of eggplant gets too small to mandolin safely, and you may decide you've reached that point a little sooner than I did here, just pull out your chef's knife and cut strips as thin as you can. Slightly thicker strips just add welcome variety. As you get further into the eggplant, you get to the part with the seeds, and fortunately, this adds the marbling that is expected in a piece of bacon. When you finish slicing the eggplant, the next step is to lay the slices out in the bottom of any cooking pan. Then you're going to cover every strip with a little pinch of salt. Drop the salt from fairly high up so a little bit spreads out a lot on the way down. Then place another layer of eggplant and another layer of salt, and continue until there's a little bit of salt on every piece of eggplant. This will bring the water out of the eggplant, and that's important to getting a nice crispy piece of bacon. The next step is to brew a pot of lapsang souchong tea, the smoky tea that adds smoky flavor to lots of recipes here on World Pea's Kitchen, but it was this bacon recipe where we first started using this trick. We use 1 measured cup of strongly brewed lapsang souchong tea to rehydrate the sun-dried tomato, and we're going to throw in 1 dried chipotle pepper, but you could also use chipotle powder or any chili powder. The recipe calls for turmeric powder for its flavor, color, and health benefits, but our grocer had fresh turmeric root this week, so we're happy to substitute the fresh for the powdered product. Then we're going to use a shallot, which is preferred in raw vegan cuisine because it has less of a sharp taste than onion. If you do use about 1/4 of an onion, make sure you slice it thinly and then soak it in water for at least a half hour to remove some of that sharpness. Then today we're getting our sweetness from medjool dates, and you have to remove the pits from those. If you don't want to use the medjool date, you can use agave syrup or maple syrup. So now let's put things in the high-speed mixer. We'll start with the sun-dried tomatoes and the chipotle pepper, which has been in the lapsang souchong tea, then the medjool dates, and the shallot, and 1 clove of garlic. Add the turmeric, and then we're going to add apple cider vinegar, and tamari, a little bit of olive oil, nutritional yeast, paprika, and cumin. We'll put it in the high-speed blender and get it up to high. After it's completely blended, wow, that smells like bacon. Here's what it looks like. Before we put the marinade on the eggplant, we want to get as much water out of the eggplant as possible. We're going to invest a fair amount of time and a couple of clean dish towels towards that goal. You want to find a few different angles to get the towel near the eggplant and squeeze. We're going to get the eggplant out of the pan it's in, because then we're going to put it back in there with the marinade. We're going to take one more opportunity to try to squeeze the water out. Don't worry about harming the eggplant, it's tougher than it looks. Now we put some of the marinade in the bottom of the pan. And then one by one, separate each strip and place it into the marinade. You've been treating that eggplant fairly roughly with squishing and squeezing, but if you use a little bit of care, it's possible to separate out each piece of eggplant. We'll fast forward here because there's so much to do. Place one layer of marinade, one layer of eggplant, one layer of marinade, one layer of eggplant, over and over again until every little piece of eggplant is swimming in marinade. Then we're going to let that sit for several hours. After the eggplant has had a chance to soak up all that marinade, we're going to transfer each strip one by one onto the oven rack. We'll also show you how to do this in the dehydrator, which is how we usually do it here in World Peace Kitchen. To dehydrate in the oven, we set the oven setting to as low as it can go. Whether that's 150, in this case 170 degrees, for some it's 200 degrees. And then we dehydrate it with the door open. We're trying to get a temperature ideally around 115 degrees, but it'll be a little warmer than that. But we don't want to cook the bacon, so keep an eye on it. And turn the oven off if you need to keep the temperature low enough for proper dehydration. The dehydrator is an essential tool for raw vegan cuisine. We have the Excalibur 9-tray dehydrator, which is considered the best dehydrator for the type of not cooking that we're trying to do here on World Peace Kitchen. Again, we're going to transfer each strip one by one. It is possible here to make longer strips of bacon by putting two pieces end to end. The bacon's going to go in the dehydrator for an entire 24-hour day. But the bacon strips we've been dehydrating in the oven are already ready. We transfer them one by one off the oven rack after it's had a chance to cool onto a plate. Take them up to Sherry for a little bit of breakfast in bed. Now it's the next day and the dehydrator strips are ready. We transfer them one by one into a nice bowl. And now we have bacon to last all week. But you can't have bacon by itself, so as a special breakfast bonus, we're going to show you how we make our scrambled tofu. It's simple and quick and made with just 4 ingredients, and it's fantastic at breakfast burrito. All you need is 1 diced onion, a package of extra firm tofu, some prepared salsa, and turmeric. And then you just mash the tofu down, cut it with your spatula into small bite-sized pieces, and there you have it. Scrambled tofu for a nice bacon and egg breakfast tacos brunch. You gotta love that bacon crunch. Well, that's all for today on World Peace Kitchen. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave us comments or ask us questions in the comments on the YouTube page, and we'll try to answer them the best we can. See you next time on World Peace Kitchen.